translation of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the 5-volume edition, and we are in the second volume. There is a New York edition, which is a single volume edition. And as I mentioned before, it is slightly abridged. Not that some of the portions which are not relevant to the Western reader have been removed from that. But this translation, a very faithful English translation, published much later in 5 volumes, because that was the original Bengali Gospel, which was first published in 5 volumes, where we do not have a chronology. It has been arranged according to the different topics by M, who recorded these conversations. So anyway, we are sticking to the original arrangement, original recording. So we are now in section 3 of the second volume. And the subheading or the main heading of this chapter is Sri Ramakrishna at the Dakshineshwar temple with devotees. And the second visit of Adhar. Adhar Sen was a deputy magistrate, which was a very important post. The British government normally would not, most of the magistrates had to be highly qualified. Normally they would be British officers, but sometimes some exceptionally intelligent or qualified Indians also would be given the responsibility of becoming a magistrate. So, Adhar Sen was one of the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna who was very devoted to Sri Ramakrishna, and he was also holding a very important position. He was the one who often took Sri Ramakrishna to his own house, used to send a carriage, because all of you know Dakshineshwar was a little away from the main city of Calcutta. Though it was part of Calcutta, it is part of Calcutta now. But in those days it was difficult. Most of the people who lived in Calcutta would find it difficult unless they had to walk a lot, and or they needed to take a horse carriage to travel so far. So anyway, Adhar was one of those devotees who very often sent a carriage to bring Sri Ramakrishna to his house. But it was very often Balram's house where Sri Ramakrishna used to meet the devotees. He has visited Balram's house at least 100 times, whereas Adhar Sen is another devotee whose house he used to gather all the devotees, and people who were staying in that part of Calcutta would get the benefit of Sri Ramakrishna's company. Whereas here, Dakshineshwar temple is the place where most of the conversations are recorded. But one unique feature of this particular translation is it does not omit even the minutest details. There are repetitions. Many times M has repeated certain things, but he has done it with a purpose, because he wants the readers to have a very clear view of what the situation was, how he has given a wonderful description, as if recreating the scene for readers who are separated by more than 150 years now, 120 years, 120, 25 years. So, to recreate that situation in the minds of devotees so that they can understand the message, the conversations that took place, and also giving the background of the devotees who were present, that adds value to this conversation. They are not just a record of the conversations, it is his own, not interpretation, you cannot say it as an interpretation. He has just recorded verbatim whatever he heard, and he has presented it as faithfully as possible without adding anything of his own. What he has added, however, is the names of people who were present, the place, the description of the place. It's a very beautiful description. Now he says he is in a very good mood, obviously, and he's using one of the three names he has used. He's trying to hide himself. He doesn't want to make himself prominent. Mahendranath Gupta, who recorded all these conversations. So sometimes he used to call himself, and the name that he used here is Manilal, though his name was Mahendranath Gupta. We people will tend to think that this Manilal is somebody else. But he uses M, sometimes Manilal, sometimes some other name, and sometimes his own name, M, which used to use the word, the first alphabet of his name, that is M, Mahendranath. So he says, come, let us go once again to Dakshineshwar temple to Sri Ramakrishna, to see Sri Ramakrishna. This is Manilal, that means his own name, his other name, and visit to Kashi. So Sri Ramakrishna is now describing maybe one of his previous visits to Kashi or Banaras. Let's go once again to the Dakshineshwar temple to see Sri Ramakrishna. Let us observe how he enjoys himself in the company of devotees. How he is ever absorbed in samadhi, thinking of the Lord. As you all know, this samadhi was a unique phenomena, and it was samadhi which was translated as a trance. For lack of a better word, one of the professors of Scottish Church College, who used to teach Narendra, who was a student, Narendra, who later on became Vivekananda, heard for the first time that there was a person in Dakshineshwar, though he was living in Calcutta, he was not aware. But his Scottish professor, William Hastie, who was, I think, taking a class on William Wordsworth's poem, The Excursion, and the word trance occurs in that poem somewhere. And the children or the students naturally wanted to know, what is this trance? How can a poet have a trance, and what exactly does it mean? So he said, how can I explain this word trance to you? It has to be experienced. And if you want to know what a trance is, you go to the Paramahamsa of Dakshineshwar and you will get an idea of what trance is. He was referring to Samadhi. Perhaps Professor William Hastie, who was from Edinburgh, and he passed away. He was deputed for 3 years or 4 years. He stayed in Kolkata and was teaching. He was an acting principal and also took a few classes. So one day, perhaps the teacher was absent, the professor was absent. So the principal himself, took the class, and by chance he referred to this samadhi, which he translated as trance. He says, I don't know how to explain this word, but you can experience for yourself the state of trance if you go to Dakshineshwar. Because he had not only heard, he had witnessed it, perhaps. Definitely he had witnessed it. So M is writing now, he is ever absorbed in samadhi. It's not an ordinary trance. It is a state which even Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar, who had absolutely no faith, he was an atheist, a confirmed atheist. So he did not believe in any mystic visions and mystic trances, samadhi, and all those things. He thought they are just hallucinations. So he would often try to medically examine Sri Ramakrishna. When he was in the state of samadhi, he was surprised. How can a person live? How can he come back to a normal state of mind when his breathing has stopped, his heartbeat has stopped? So he goes with a stethoscope and tries to, whatever his medical science has taught him, he tries to see what is the state of this person. And he was surprised that in spite of the heart and the heartbeat and the lungs, the breathing, everything has stopped when he goes into samadhi. He says, my medical science cannot explain it, but anyway, it was recorded, and he also once or twice even tried to test and check how can a person reach this high state of yoga. So anyway, even M had witnessed it for the first time in his life when he first came to Sri Krishna. He was curious to see, and now he sees. Now and then we see him in samadhi, now intoxicated with the joy of the devotional songs, and now talking to the devotees. Sometimes he's in a normal plane. Whenever there is a devotional song being sung, he would very often go into the state of trance. Then he says this is what M has observed. He's just been coming for a few months now, so he's new to this place, but still, whatever he has seen and whatever he is observing, he's recording it here. He says he always has the name of the Lord on his holy lips. His mind is ever indrawn. His conduct is like a 5-year-old child. He's talking about Sri Krishna. He utters the name of the Divine Mother with every breath. His conduct is absolutely like that of an egoless 5-year-old child. A child of 5 is unattached to sense objects. He is always happy, guileless, and very liberal and magnanimous. Sri Krishna's one word is that God is the reality and all else is temporary or unreal. It's a matter of 2 days. Let us go to see, let us go and see that child. Child means he is referring to Sri Krishna, this childlike nature. As Jesus says in the Bible, when many people they were traveling, his disciples, his intimate and close disciples. So he sees some children running around and playing gleefully, 5-year-old children. So then he points to his disciples and says, unless you be like those children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. What he meant was that this childlike nature becomes very natural or spontaneous to a person who has got rid of all mental impurities and has reached a high spiritual state. So this is what he's observing. And he says, just like a child of 5 is unattached to all the sense objects, he is always happy, no matter, because he's free from worry, he's free from anxiety. It's only when the child grows up that society or the world around him complicates him and makes his life miserable. Swami Vivekananda once mentions this in one of his talks that he delivered in California. He gives a beautiful uh, idea or a beautiful reason why what spiritual practice does to a person. He says when a child is born, is egoless, is guileless, is always happy, full of joy, because he has no worries, no anxieties. Then he uses some words. He says, society robs him of his innocence. Unfortunately, this world robs him of this young child when he grows. He is taught so many complicated things. He's taught lies, he's taught the ways of the world, and the poor child who was born happy slowly loses his innocence. That's what Swamiji says, Swami Vivekananda. And spirituality is trying to regain this innocence. He loses it because of his contact with the world, because of complicated people who teach him the so-called skills of the world, which makes him complicated. And to regain his innocence, spirituality is an effort to regain that childlike innocence. That is what Jesus said what he meant when he said that unless you are as guileless as the young children, the kingdom of heaven will be close to you. So here also he is noting these things. And he says Sri Ramakrishna's one word is that God is the only reality and all else is unreal. A matter of just 2 days. Let us go and see that child who is intoxicated with divine love, the great yogi that he is. He roams all alone on the shore of the infinite ocean of Satchidananda. One can't tell what he sees in this infinite ocean of Sachidananda. Having witnessed it, having witnessed that ocean of Sachidananda, the infinite uh, reality, he is roaming about mad with divine love. It is Sunday, the first day of the bright fortnight of the month of Chaitra. This is an Indian month. Yesterday, Saturday, was the new moon when Sri Ramakrishna went to Balram's house. Balram Bose is a devotee. Sri Ramakrishna used to say these are, but there were one or two houses where he used to frequent because he felt that all the people who lived there, especially Balram's family, he said it's a very rare family where everybody, every member of the family is devoted. So normally you don't get all the members equally devoted, but he was very happy and he did not mind going to his house. He would rarely go to any person's house in Calcutta. Other was another person, other Sen who is here. But this conversation is in Dakshineshwar. It is Sunday, the first day of the bright night, and yesterday was the new moon when Sri Ramakrishna went to Balram's house. In the deep dark night of the new moon, Mahakali, Mahakali, that is Kali, whom we worship, plays alone with Mahakala. Shiva is also, that's another name for Shiva. He is the great time. You see, everything, when we come under the uh, purview of space, time, and causation, there is no causation without time. If time stops, causation stops. The very fact that cause leads to an effect presupposes that there is time involved. Two events take place. This is the cause, this is the effect. And between them, there is an interval which is known as time. So imagine a state where there is no time. Mahakala means the great. Shiva is also named as Mahakala, the absolute. He is Mahakala because he is not bound by time. All other things, temporary things of the world, including Prakriti. So Mahakali plays alone with this Mahakala. That is the symbolic representation. If you see the Dakshineshwar temple, Shiva is lying flat and on his chest, Kali is dancing. The idea is the stable, the eternal Brahman is the substratum of the divine play of Shakti or Maya. That is the idea. In Vedanta, we call it Maya, in Tantras, we call it Shakti, and in Sankhya, we call it Prakriti. Prakriti is the changing phenomena, the changing part of nature. I mean, the nature which is ever changing, and that has to be supported by Mahakala or Shiva. That is the symbology that we see in the Dakshineshwar temple, where Shiva is lying. People are confused. Why is he lying down prostrate? Because he has to be a substratum. The change has to be with respect to something which is unchanging. If everything changes, then what is the basis of this? Uh, I mean, how can we perceive that change if there is no changeless reality behind it? So, pure consciousness is what is known as Shiva and also known as Mahakala. So, Mahakali, Mahakali who is responsible for time, space, and causation, which creates this universe, changing universe, is placed alone with this Mahakala. For this reason, Thakur does not remain still long on the new moon, and it is why he is in the state of a child who is with his mother night and day and who cannot live without her. So, one of the sadhanas, one of the uh, philosophies, which is known as the Tantra philosophy, they say since we are involved in this change play, this changing nature, we are somehow involved. We have to extricate ourselves. Otherwise, there is no end to our sorrow. So once we are uh, you may say, under the influence of Shakti or Prakriti, nature, we have to go to her to free ourselves because unless she wills, she can bind us, she can remove all the bondage and free us and unite us with Mahakala. Only she has the capacity. So that is why he doesn't want to. He is like a child who is always pleading with the mother, saying that my play is done. As long as the child plays with the toys, the mother doesn't disturb him. Till he gets tired of this play. These wonderful ideas are expressed through many songs. The world is considered to be like a drama or a play, where the purpose of this play is to, like Patanjali's yoga, at the end of the Patanjali's yoga, the commentator says, what is the role of Prakriti? If she creates this delusion and takes us through all these varied experiences, ultimately, if we have to give up Prakriti, as Sankhya says, and unite with the Purusha, which is pure consciousness, then why play at all? Why she makes us go through all those things? So he gives an explanation. It is just like a mother who takes the child through this mela, that's fair, big fair, the child till he is very enthusiastic. He is insisting. He tells his mother, I want to see what is going on there. What are the various things that have been displayed there? Till he is tired. And when he is tired, when his legs tire and he's done with the seeing the fair and enjoying it, he will tell his mother, now I want to go home. I had enough of this drama going around and all those things. So Prakriti, in a way, Prakriti makes you go through all these varied experiences. That is what Sankhya and the yoga philosophy say. The role of Prakriti is to make the jiva or the individual soul go through all these experiences. And finally, she is the one who takes you back home. That is, back to the pure consciousness that is Purusha. That is the idea. He says he is playing with his, doesn't want to leave the mother because the mother will help him in his play or whatever Leela is being enacted. But at the same time, at any time when he feels that he's enough is done, the play is over, now I want to go back to my mother, she is the one who will comfort the child. So that is the idea here. And it is Sunday morning, 8th April 1883. That means he has just been coming for a few months. I think just a year or so, 1882 March was the first time he visits Sri Ramakrishna, Master Mashe. So it has just been 1 year, 1886, Sri Ramakrishna passed away. So 26th day of Chaitra, Thakur means Sri Ramakrishna, is seated like a child. Rakhal, a young devotee who later on became the first president of the Ramakrishna order, Swami Brahmananda. His name was Rakhal Chandra Ghosh. So Rakhal, he was still a devotee at that time. He had not become a monk. So M comes. M means the same Manilal now has become M. M comes and prostrates himself before Thakur. Sri Ramakrishna's nephew Ramlal, Kishori, one devotee, and many other devotees are gathered there. The elderly Brahmo devotee, Manilal Malik, enters and offers his salutations to Sri Ramakrishna. Mani Malik has been on a pilgrimage to Kashi, that is Banaras. He is a trader and has an office in Kashi. Sri Ramakrishna is now asking him about Kashi. So you have been to Kashi. Did you meet any sadhus there or just went there to do some business and came away? Manilal says, yes sir. I went to see Trailanga Swami, Bhaskarananda and some other great souls there. Sri Ramakrishna, please tell me how you found them. He is not asking him about his business and what he did and all. He is just interested that has his going to Kashi been fruitful, spiritually fruitful. He just wants to know how he spent his time with some holy people, because that was the place where you would find so many holy people living. Sri Ramakrishna, please tell me how you found them. Manilal is replying, Trailanga Swami is still in the same temple on Manikarnika Ghat with Beni Madhav. So he used to live there. The Trailanga Swami, they say, lived for more than 100 years. He rarely spoke. He had taken a vow of silence. So even when Sri Ramakrishna met him, he just explained to him, and Sri Ramakrishna could understand his sign language. He would talk to him by making signs. He never spoke. So Trailanga Swami is still in the same temple on Manikarnika Ghat with Beni Madhav. People say that he was in a high spiritual state before. Now, this is Manilal Mallik's way of interpreting his state. How does he know that Trailanga Swami is in a lower state now? Because they judge a person by the type of the amount of miracles they do. If a person, which is in fact a very low state, in fact, Sri Ramakrishna, if you read the divine play of Sri Ramakrishna or the great master, he says people make such a big fuss about material miracles, somebody producing something, curing some disease. They are very low states, he says. The higher state would be to change the mind of a person, change the mind in the sense, change the samskaras, which are very difficult, deep rooted subconscious samskaras, which are very difficult to change. Only avatars can change them. If a person is really spiritual, he can change the very nature. Like Girish Chandra Ghosh, a drunkard became a saint. The saintly touch of Sri Ramakrishna could change him. That is, according to Swami Sardanji, the greatest miracle. Not producing certain things or reading some mind and all those things. Now, Manilal, of course, being a worldly person, he has gone there to do business. And in the process, he has gone to some two holy people, Bhaskara and Ananda. They are great spiritual people. And he's trying to judge them. And the people, local people, are also telling him, oh, in those days, he was very great. He has lost his spiritual power. He used to commit a lot of miracles. I mean, he used to perform a lot of miracles. So, Sri Ramakrishna gets upset when he says that. People say that he was in a high spiritual state before. Before means in his early days, perhaps he used to, some miracles might have happened that have been maybe in coincidence or incidental. But real spiritual people do not give importance to these miracles. So he says he was in a very high spiritual state before. He could work any number of miracles. Now they say means the local people. They are far fewer. That means he is judging Trailanga Swami and just as the other worldly people, they think if because they go to such saints for some kind of miracle, some issue that they are facing in the world, maybe monetary issue, health issues, and for them curing some disease or these miracles are important because they want to get rid of these worldly problems. They are not keen to get any kind of spiritual knowledge. They don't understand that because he is doing less miracles now, they are fewer now. He is spiritually far more advanced. He is not able to give his mind or concentrate his mind on these silly things anymore. Maybe, as Patanjali says in his Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, he says there are different stages. Though he says these miracles are not important, I would still mention as a spiritual scientist, these may come, they may be they may create problems in a spiritual aspirant. So one has to be very careful with these miracles and bypass them. But since they happen, I'm just stating these things before you. So there is this second chapter where he describes that, and then in the third chapter, sorry, and then he goes to the final goal of yoga, which is control of the mind. So then Sri Ramakrishna says, oh, this is nothing but fault finding by worldly people. How can they judge a great saint like Trailanga Swami? Just because he is performing less miracle doesn't mean he has not made spiritual progress or he is not in a high spiritual state now. Then Manilal says, of course, unlike Trailanga Swami, who doesn't meet anybody, just because he doesn't meet anybody or talk to anybody, He is making his own judgment. He says, but Bhaskaranand is very nice. He meets everybody. He is not like Trailanga Swami who doesn't say a word. So this is how worldly people evaluate great spiritual giants. Bhaskaranji was a great saint, no doubt, but he is this person who himself has no spiritual attainment, this Manilal, who is just a businessman who had gone to Kashi, and by chance, because everybody goes to these holy people, he has gone there. And he says, see, Bhaskaranda meets everybody. He is not like Trailanga Swami who doesn't say a word. Just because he doesn't say a word, does it make him less spiritual? Anyway, then Sri Ramakrishna ignores that and he says, did you have any conversation with Bhaskarananda? Manilal says, yes. Yes, sir, we talked for a very long time. Among the other things we discussed were vice and virtue, dharma and adharma. He said, don't treat the don't tread the path of sin. Don't even think of evil. This is what the Lord requires of you. Perform only those actions which bring you merit, that is punya. Sri Ramakrishna. Yes, that is true as far as worldly people are concerned because they want to go to heaven or some such state. So they believe that we should do all these things with the intention of gaining some spiritual, gaining some merit. Merit means it's not just spiritual merit, they are keen to get some merit by giving gifts, by doing certain rituals. They aspire to go to a higher state, which is maybe they are aspiring for heaven. But he says, but it is totally, yes, it is true that what Bhaskaranand said is for people who want to earn some merit by doing some punya so that their life becomes happy, they become prosperous, and all those things. But it is different for those who are illumined, those who have realized that Lord is the only reality and all else is unreal and ephemeral. They know that the Lord alone does everything and that we are all non doers. Those who are illumined never take a wrong step. They don't have to calculate before giving up sin. They don't they have so much love for the Lord that their actions are spontaneous and exemplary. But they know that they are not doers of their actions. They know that they are only the servants of the Lord, that they are only the machines, while the Lord is the operator of the machine. They know that what they are doing is by His will, that what they speak is what He makes them speak, that they move the way He makes them move. Those who are illumined, this is very difficult to understand, but Sri Ramakrishna has explained it so beautifully. He says those who are illumined have gone beyond vice and virtue. How does one go beyond vice and virtue? Going beyond vice, we understand, but why should we go beyond virtue? So he explains, they see that the Lord is indeed doing everything. There was a monastery whose sadhus, is giving an example now. There was a monastery whose sadhus used to go out every day to beg holy food. One day, one of the sadhus saw that a landlord was badly thrashing a man. The sadhu was very compassionate. He intervened to stop the landlord from beating the man. The landlord was in a rage. All his anger fell on the body of the sadhu. He thrashed him so badly that the sadhu fell down unconscious. Somebody went to the monastery to say that one of the sadhus has been harshly beaten by the landlord. Though that was not his intention, but he came and tried to protect the person whom he was beating, and in the process, he got beaten. The sadhus of the monastery came and saw him lying unconscious. All five of them lifted him, carried him to the monastery, and laid him down. They sat around the unconscious sadhu and they were all downcast. Some of them fanned him. One of them said, pour a little milk in his mouth. As they did so, the sadhu regained consciousness and opened his eyes. A brother of the monastery said, let me see whether he has regained consciousness or whether he can recognize us. He spoke loudly to the sadhu, asking him, Maharaj, who is making you drink the milk? Can you recognize us? He was beaten so badly they thought perhaps he'll not be able to recognize in such a bad condition. Then the sadhu slowly said, "Brother, he who beat me is indeed giving me milk to drink." So he could see no distinction between virtue and vice. This is a very high state of mind. This is the state which made Jesus tell all the people who had crucified him. He said, "O Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Because he could not see the evil. It was ignorance. So for them, virtue, vice, they don't make any distinction. They're so full of love for God that they don't think about his creation, which is anyway temporary. So this example shows very clearly that he says, "Brother, he who beat me indeed is giving me milk to drink." Till one has realized the Lord, one cannot attain such a state. This is, of course, a very high state of mind. Otherwise, we always have to avoid adharma and follow dharma. We have to painfully cultivate virtue and avoid vice. So that is for an ordinary soul. But Sri Ramakrishna says, Manilal then says, "Sir, what you are saying is a very lofty idea. I had such conversations with Bhaskarananda, that is in Banaras, on various topics." Then Sri Ramakrishna asks him, "In whose house is he staying?" Because then Manilal says, "In some householder's residence." Sri Ramakrishna, "How old is he?" Manilal, "He should be 55. And Sri Ramakrishna says, "Did you talk of anything else?" Manilal, "I asked him how one could cultivate devotion and love for God. He said there's only one way. Repeat the name, say Rama Rama." So he's talking of, uh, he was asking this question, what is the best and the easiest way to cultivate this kind of devotion? So Sri Ramakrishna said, that is very good. Now the conversation is continuing. The worship of the Mother of the Universe, that is Bhavatarani, Mother of the Universe here means Bhavatarani temple in Dakshineshwar. Then Radha Kanta, that is the Krishna temple that was nearby, Radha and Krishna. And the 12 Shiva temples has ended. So most of the artis they take place one after another or simultaneously. The sounds of music and bell ringing related to arti and food offering is heard. It is the month of Chaitra. It is midday. The sun is shining brightly. Only a short while ago, flood tide started and the wind began to blow from the south. The holy Bhagirathi, that is Ganges, began to flow northward a short time ago. Sri Ramakrishna is resting in his room after eating. Rakhal is Swami Brahmananda later on, but he has come. His native village is Basirhat. In summer, there is a great scarcity of water in his village. Sri Ramakrishna now tells Mani Mallik, who is a very rich devotee, "Look, Rakhal was telling me that there is a great scarcity of water in his region. Why don't you get a reservoir dug there? It will benefit so many people." Smiling, "You have so much money. What will you do with it?" It is said the dealers of oil are very calculating. It's a particular community, they are known as Telis in Bengal. So Thakur and all the devotees laugh because they are a little miserly, all like all businessmen. So they are very calculating, but at least you try and help. You have so much of money, why don't you spend it? Manilal Mallik's home is in Sindhuriapatti region of Calcutta. The Brahmo Samaj there holds its sessions in that area. He means Manilal Malik, he has recently converted to Brahmo Samaj. Like most of the uh, educated people, or maybe most of the people in Kolkata those days, they blindly believed that idol worship is bad without questioning it, just because somebody blames Murti Puja or idol worship, they also criticize. And most of them, it was a fashion to join Brahmo Samaj and criticize all the old institutions and old methods of worship. So he is like other people. Manilal Malik also organizes Brahmo festivals, Brahmo Samaj. But the unique thing here is that though Sri Ramakrishna was always, he began his spiritual life by worshipping Mother Kali in a very ritualistic way. Still, all the Brahmos, including Keshav Chandra Sen, did not criticize him or did not even mind, and they used to come and listen to him. That is something which is surprising. If they are real followers of Brahmo Samaj, even Swami Vivekananda refused to go to the temple. He says it is against the principles of Brahmo Samaj to bow down before an image, an idol. So that was the trend in those days. But Manilal also invited a lot of people, and Sri Ramakrishna did not mind, though they criticized. So Brahmos used to feel Sri Ramakrishna is their own, Hindus used to feel he was their own, Christians used to come. There were so many people of so many faiths. Shaivites used to come, and Vaishnavas who are very dogmatic in their approach, in their uh, adherence to vegetarianism and all those things. They used to come and sit with Shaktas who did not follow the vegetarian path. So when they came to Sri Ramakrishna, especially in Dakshineshwar, they forgot all the differences. And because he spoke only of God, he spoke of the essentials of all religion or all religious paths. He didn't bother about the minor details. You believe in God, you believe in form, you believe in Murti Puja, you believe in idol worship, or you disbelieve in that. You are an atheist, even atheists like Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar, who said, I don't believe, I just come here because he's a good person. He used to come to Sri Ramakrishna first he was his patient, but later on, he somehow fell in love with his wonderful nature, simple nature, that he said, I don't believe in what you say, but I still come here because you are a good person. So many people used to come here, forgetting all their differences. They were all unified in the wonderful love of Sri Ramakrishna. He never criticized. Swami Vivekananda once said, even I have criticized something which I did not like, but Sri Ramakrishna would never see the negative side of any person. So he is now, this Mani Malik, he invites him. He is even somebody took him to the church. Sri Ramakrishna would go there as long as people were sincere in their own faith and in their own spiritual practice. He was he appreciated that. So that's why Swami Vivekananda echoed what his master used to say. He says, I attended this parliament of religions much later, but my master's room in Dakshineshwar itself was a mini parliament of religions. Every day people used to come and talk of God and God alone, the core spiritual values of all religion, all paths, all sects within Hinduism, outside of Hinduism. Nobody bothered because the only condition to come to Sri Ramakrishna, that are you sincere in your own path and do you love the ideal that your sect or your particular path tells you to do. If you are sincere, you go by any path, you'll reach the same goal. So anyway, Manilal has a garden house in Baranagar. So he has invited, and Sri Ramakrishna says, wherever there are holy people who are aspiring to take the name of God or talk about God, I am ready to go there. Then he often stays there alone and occasionally goes to see Thakur. That is, he has a home where he used to hold festivals and stay there. He seldom hires a carriage to go to Baranagar directly. Instead, he first goes to Shobha Bazar by tram. From there, he hires a seat in the carriage for Baranagar, and yet he has no shortage of money. He could have easily spent a little more money, but he, being a miser, is saving money. Many years later, after this, he donated 25,000 rupees to support poor students. That's a big amount in those days. But anyway, that change came gradually in his life. Manilal keeps quiet, but after some time, having talked about various other matters, he refers to the prior conversation. Sir, you were talking about a reservoir. That is all right. That is all right. When he says, Sri Ramakrishna just out of fun said, people who deal with oil, I mean, Teli, those who deal with oil, they are special class of merchants. So they were usually miserly. So Sri Ramakrishna had just joked. He said, you are asking me to dig a reservoir, that is fine, but why talk about dealers of oil? So everybody starts laughing because it was an innocent joke that Sri Ramakrishna, uh, at his expense, Manilal Malik's expense, he had cracked. So some of the devotees tries to suppress their laughter. Thakur also smiles. Sri Ramakrishna and the Brahmo devotees in Dakshineshwar and the essence of ecstatic love. In a little while, a number of elderly Brahmo devotees arrive from Calcutta. One of them is Thakur Das Sen. There is a big gathering of devotees in the room. Thakur is seated on the smaller cot. Facing north with a smile on his face, he sits like a child, conversing happily with the Brahmo devotees. Sri Ramakrishna now addressing Brahmo devotees and others. You people talk so much of prema, but is it such an ordinary thing? Chaitanya Deva was in the state of ecstatic love, that is prema. There are two characteristics of ecstatic love. The first and essential condition is to forget the world, to become unaware of everything external in the world in the love of God. Chaitanya Deva would think that he was in Vrindavan, wherever he was. He used to think he was in Vrindavan when he was in any forest, and it was the Jamuna river at the side of the sea. He was in Puri. Even there, he was in such a high state that it didn't matter whether he was in Puri. Any body of water he saw, it reminded him of Brindavan and the Yamuna river where Sri Krishna sported, performed his divine Leela. That shows that he has forgotten the geographical location where he was because he's so obsessed or so devoted, he's full of divine love that he has forgotten, he's unaware of anything external. So he says, don't just say, I have developed prema, because if you really had developed it, you would not be conscious of the external world like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The second characteristic, see, Sri Ramakrishna is mentioning this. It is mentioned in a very important book by Jiva Goswami, where he discusses different types of bhakti. It is known as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He wrote a wonderful book. It is Sindhu means ocean. Bhakti Rasamrita, Bhakti Rasa Amrita, and immortal ocean of bhakti. So in that he mentions lot of characteristics. We talk of bhakti, it's not just blind devotion or some kind of emotional attachment to some lord or some Ishta Devata whom you love, but it is self-forgetfulness. There are two characteristics which Sri Ramakrishna is quoting or mentioning here. He says the second characteristic, first is he has to forget the world. He should have absolutely nothing to do with anything in the world. He doesn't even recognize that the site of the sea it's not a river, it's a sea, but he is still so devoted and his mind is full of Krishna and the Jamuna that he thinks every water body is a sea and everywhere he is in Vrindavan. So no matter where he is, uh, that that kind of devotion or that kind of concentration of mind is necessary if one has to develop this kind of prema or ecstatic love. Then he says second characteristic is to have no attachment to the body which one holds so dear. The conviction of the body as the self fully disappears. You cannot have prema till you have seen the Lord. There are some marks of God realization. Now, Sri Ramakrishna is saying this. When the splendor of love manifests within, God realization is not far away. What does the splendor of love mean? Discrimination, that is viveka, dispassion, detachment towards sense objects, compassion, service to the holy, company of the holy, chanting the name and glories of the Lord, truthfulness, all these. So it's a list which is, of course, mentioned in the devotional scriptures of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's just saying that splendor of love, what does it mean? When one develops real love for the Lord, these 9 characteristics are manifest. First is discrimination between real and unreal. That which is eternal, which is going to always remain with you, the eternal Lord, that will be the object of one's own pursuit or attention. That is discrimination. And giving up that which is temporary, which is not going to uh, survive, I mean, which is not going to go with you after death. So people have to fix their priorities. So that is known as viveka. Viveka is known as discrimination. It is known as discernment. That is a better word. Discrimination can mean racial discrimination and all those things. But discernment between the real and the eternal and the temporary. So that is one of the conditions. Dispassion. Dispassion means anasakti. That is, uh, anything other than the Lord will not interest him. They may engage with all other things, but they will do it with a dispassion. They will do it as a duty. Then compassion. Compassion means not looking at others' faults and trying to forgive them and being compassionate on anyone and everyone. Service to the holy. Of course, that we discussed in the morning in Rajoga, the impact of vibrations. So, holy company to be is necessary because of the positive vibrations that you can access, or you can benefit from the positive vibration. That is why company of the holy and service to the holy. Service obviously means you have to have their company. So what happens is when you are in the midst of holy vibrations, consciously or unconsciously, you imbibe certain vibrations. The vibrations can be thought vibrations, they can be vibrations which are generated because of some noble action, or even chanting and reading of holy books and thinking of holy things that create vibrations. They are as real as material things. We saw how in Rajoga, Swami Vivekananda says that prana doesn't mean just gravitational energy or the life energy, the breathing, the energy of the beating of the heart, the nervous energy. These are energies which are related to the body. But he says prana in a higher state. Pranayama means even regulating the energy of thought. When thought is also a form of finer energy. So when you think deeply, when you think positively, that generates energy, and that is also known as prana. So pranayama, which is normally understood as breathing, it is has nothing to do with breathing. Breathing is one of the ways, the grossest or the most grossest way to control that energy. So pranayama, we begin with breathing, but it should not end with breathing. It because breathing is something which is tangible, which we can control. We can control it mechanically. We decide how to breathe, how long to inhale, how long to exhale. But people, they spend their whole life doing this. It will not benefit because this pranayama is to be extended to more and more subtle levels. At a higher stage, this pranayama is control of thought, regulating thought processes. So we saw how in Patanjali's yoga, he says, yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. The thoughts, just as we regulate breath, we have to regulate our thought. How can we do it? By repeating, chanting the name. So Sri Ramakrishna says, this chanting of the name is induced by holy company. If you are in the company of somebody who is chanting the name always, just by his presence, you feel the motivation to chant the name. So, chanting the name according to Holy Mother Sharda Devi induces even the gross pranayama. You don't have to do pranayama if you are repeating in a systematic way, even if you repeat slowly. There is no need to repeat the mantra fast or just bother about the number. When you are repeating some prayer, the prayer of the heart, as the Greek Orthodox tradition, they used to have this prayer, and it was a very slow prayer, very long prayer. Gayatri, for example. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimai. So it is chanted, it's a long prayer. And if it is done mentally, you can induce a regular breathing. So pranayama becomes automatic. You don't have to practice external pranayama. But of course, people who can't do this, the mental pranayama, as they say, repetition of the mantra is a mental pranayama. So when you repeat the name, or say the famous prayer of the heart of Lord Jesus, that you go on praying, "Oh Lord Jesus, have mercy upon me." So that is a prayer. It's not just it's the merit of that prayer is in the repetition. Because it is repeated in a particular way, just as you repeat the breath, inhaling, exhaling, happens automatically. So pranayama is induced. So all these things, they conduce chanting the name, the glories of the Lord, truthfulness, and all those things. Truthfulness, of course, is the basis of all spiritual life. It is known as Satya. Satya Asteya, there are yamas and niyamas. Truth is given a lot of importance because in thought, word, and deed, if we are truthful, then the prayer also becomes truthful. Then it becomes more effective. Otherwise, it will become mechanical. So, truthfulness, if you do, then when you call upon the Lord, you are really truthfully calling upon the Lord. It's not that you are doing it in a mechanical way as we do pranayama. We just do because we want some good results, some benefits like good health. That is not the goal of pranayama. In Patanjali's yoga, at least, that is not the goal. He says good health may result, that may be a byproduct, but the goal of pranayama is to focus your mind, and with that repetition, you control the prana. Not just the gross prana, but which is breath, the subtle prana, which is the nervous energy, which you cannot control directly, but indirectly, that is one of the pranas that get controlled. Your nerves become calm, your entire personality, your mind becomes calm, which is a higher result of mental pranayama. So, all these things, and then when one comes across these signs of bhakti, one can know the vision of God is not far away. So these are the prerequisites: discrimination, dispassion, compassion, service to the holy, company of the holy, chanting the name and the glories of the Lord, truthfulness. So there is a long list which are prerequisites. And when these things become natural to a person, he says one can know that now the vision of God is not far away. By looking at the condition of the servant's house, see, Sri Ramakrishna is giving an example. One can easily determine if a rich man has decided to visit it. He is giving a very gross example. First of all, if a rich man is about to visit his poor tenant, then he cleans, the weeds are cleared, cobwebs are removed, and the floor of the house is clean. The rich man himself sends a cotton carpet, a hubble bubble, and all other such things. Seeing all these things being carried to the house, everybody says that the visit of a gentleman or a rich man is not far away. That means when you near God realization, all these qualities like discrimination, dispassion, compassion, service, desire for holy company, desire to chant more and more, do more and more japa, all these things are a sign that you are progressing spiritually, or at least you are making an attempt, and the Lord is not far away. Then the devotee asks and will conclude, "Sir, does one have to reason before being able to control the senses?" So rational people would like an explanation for everything. That why should I control the senses? Why should I do this? Do's and don'ts, uh, without rationally trying to, without reasoning, should I do these things? Then Sri Ramakrishna agrees. He says, yes, that is also a path, the path of discrimination. If you take to the path of devotion, that is a simple faith in the existence and the capacity of the Lord to make you spiritual, then the inner senses get controlled automatically. You don't have to discriminate. Otherwise, if you follow the path of reason, for everything you will ask questions. Why should I do it? It's a good path. He says it's not bad. It's the path of discrimination or jnana. Some people are very rational in their approach. Right from childhood, they have been trained that way. There's nothing wrong in that because that saves a lot of superstition. They will not do anything without questioning. They want to question everything. But then you have to go on questioning everything. And if you really are honest in your approach, a rational approach, then reasoning will take you to the highest. But he says the path of devotion is a little easier because you don't have to question and you don't have to uh, follow that long path. Your inner senses get controlled automatically, and it is easier. The more you develop love for the Lord, the less you care for the pleasures of the senses. So when he gives an example, if somebody loses their child, can the grief stricken parents think of their bodily pleasures? At least for a few days, they will totally lose interest in all bodily pleasures because they've just lost a dear child. So it is like that. He says if you're loving God, you will automatically, you don't have to force yourself not to indulge in bodily pleasures. The love of God you will be so obsessed with that that it leaves very little time for anything else. A devotee says, I cannot imagine loving God. This is what normally rational people, this is the major problem they face. How can I love God? The problem is, if they have been trained in such a way, nothing wrong in that, but they have been trained in such a way that they will question everything. So he says, I cannot imagine loving a God. Perhaps his idea was that I have not seen God. You are asking me to just love God, whom I have not seen. So that is not possible. So, what is the solution? He says the importance of God's name, that is a subheading, will not start now. That's a long topic. The way the Divine Mother's name. So, Sri Ramakrishna, but the devotee is still arguing with him. He says, why don't you try? By repeating his name, you will rid yourself all your sin and see how lust, anger, desire for creature comforts, and all the rest disappear. The devotee says, but unfortunately, who likes to repeat the name? Then Sri Ramakrishna says, now it is a very difficult case. So he says, pray to God with a longing heart that you may develop a taste for his name. He always fulfills one wishes. Then there is a beautiful song of Ram Prasad which we'll discuss in the next class. If there are some questions, you can answer. If there are questions based on what we discussed. It's almost 5:35. Isn't it? Just check if there are any question. Normally, when you read the gospel, there are hardly any doubt remains. It is so nicely, his conversations are so nice. His way of explaining things. Most of the great people, they make difficult things simple. But when you go to philosophy, it is often the reverse. Our minds are complicated, so we want simple things explained in a difficult way. So if we say, oh, we have read the Upanishad and the Bhashya, and it took us 4 hours to understand, then we feel a sense of achievement. But actually, it is not achievement. Simple things which Sri Ramakrishna says in through parables, We like to make it difficult because we think we are important people, we are intellectual people. So simple things do not attract us anymore. That is how our minds have been trained. So the greatest thing, Swami Vivekananda says, he says, I envy my master who did not have the benefit of university learning. I regret the fact that we went to the universities and uh, a lot of rubbish, second-hand knowledge, we stuffed our brains with that. And now I have to get rid of all that knowledge to understand the essence of spiritual life. And my master never went to the university, went to the University of Nature directly, which is more original and more direct. So he got his knowledge directly from the source of knowledge, that is the Divine Mother Shakti. So it's a difficult thing to understand how difficult things become simple. And one of the reasons why Sri Ramakrishna discarded all forms of external learning was this. Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda mentions this. He said, why in this incarnation, Sri Ramakrishna decided not to deliberately indulge in formal learning. He says the reason is he wanted to show that formal learning can be an impediment in the path of too much of reasoning will lead you nowhere. It will take you round and round and round. Even Shankaracharya, the great Advaitin, was a great scholar, great intellectual. He says, be careful. Shabdaranyam Mahajalam. This don't get lost in the forest of words. What a statement. He said the forest of words is dangerous. Once you go inside, it's difficult to extricate yourself. It is a literal forest. So he himself has written such elaborate commentaries, but that is for complicated people. For people who have simple faith, as Sri Krishna says, you don't have to do anything. Now, what is the question? Two questions. Yeah, I repeat. Huh? How do we? How can you offer attachment? Other question is? Without emotion. Yeah, so there are two questions that have been asked. One is perhaps what the questioner means here. The question, perhaps, one who has asked this question, how can we offer all our attachments to Kalima? That is the question, or Mother, Divine Mother. The question should be how we can take the help of Kalima so that we can get rid of the attachments which we have. Or we can redirect it to her. That is what is Thakur used to say, mode firiye dawa. Mane, change the direction. So one grandfather comes and says, my small grandson who is just born, I feel his name is Gopala and I like him so much. How can I get rid of that attachment? Then Sri Krishna says, why? It is so easy. Just think that Gopala is the Gopal Krishna whom you worship. He has come in that form. So maybe that is what the question is, that how can I dedicate everything to Ma Kali? So think that it is Ma Kali's, you begin with that. Of course, it doesn't end with that. So changing all your emotions and directing it to Ma Kali, including your attachments. Attachment means all different emotions that are involved. Attachment is nothing but emotion, some kind of emotion towards a particular person or a thing, some strong like. It is also known as raga. Raga and dvesha. Either you can hate a thing or you love a thing. There are certain people, certain things you hate, you call it dvesha. So Patanjali says either you have dvesha for many things and people, or you have raga for people whom you like. So how to convert that and direct it, that attachment to Ma Kali? You think, in the beginning you have to think the child, the grandson or the son or whatever relationship you have is, you connect it to Ma Kali. It is Mother Kali's child that has come to our family. And then slowly the child becomes secondary, and the mother, the direction that you are giving it as mother's child, that mother becomes more important. That is one way Thakur used to say, direct all your emotions, good and bad, towards God. Even he says anger. For example, if you are angry over many things that you are not getting what you want in life, direct that anger to God. What does it mean? You direct your anger to God means you be angry with Him. Instead of being angry that you don't get the thing that you desire, you be angry with the mother that you are not getting, not achieving the goal of life, the goal of spiritual life. So, mother, in that way, your anger is directed towards the mother. Maybe that is one. These are the techniques that Sri Ramakrishna tells us in the gospel, that no emotion is good or bad if you direct it towards the Lord. Lord has the capacity to absorb all these emotions and convert it into bhakti. The second question is? Okay, yeah. Can we have some kind of detachment, compassion without?
Compassion on an observation level.
Yeah, compassion, you see, normally there are two words. Daya. Daya means compassion. So, in some traditions, they say, for example, Buddhism, they say without compassion, you are not a human being. You should be compassionate towards creatures, compassionate towards other human beings. That is a positive way of removing all the evil attitudes like jealousy, like anger, so many things we have for people around us. So if you want to reverse that, you start having compassion, you start developing compassion even for the people who do bad things to you, who are not good to you. So that is one way. They call it daya. But Sri Krishna gives it asks us to practice a higher form of compassion. He says just compassion that may result in some kind of ego. For example, there is somebody who is suffering and you are very compassionate and you give him some money because of your compassion, feeling for that person, or in general feeling without being attached, you help. Anybody suffering, you are compassionate, you have daya and you give him. But then slowly the idea that I am compassionate, that ego comes, that you see, I have helped this person and he should reciprocate by at least praising what I have done. So it's kind of transactional. But so Sri Krishna takes it to a slightly higher level. He said, when you want to have compassion, jive daya noy, jiva shiva gyane jiva seva. Just compassion may lead you, may not help you spiritually. It may even, in fact, develop some kind of subtle ego where you think you are compassionate because you are helping out someone. So instead of that, if you Shiva Gyane Jiva Seva means if you try to see your God, your Ishta in that person, that suffering person, the same compassion becomes a worship of God. So, in that case, as the question has been asked, we can do it without any attachment or without any feeling. Without it is compassion, no doubt, but it is done with some kind of reverence, not out of not expecting any gratitude in return. It's not transactional. It is just I give because I love my Lord and I see the Lord in that person or in that whatever uh, suffering you see in the world outside of you. That suffering, because my Lord exists in that form and he has come to me as a suffering person asking for some kind of financial or medical or some other help. I am serving him with the spirit of serving the God in man. Not I'm not serving the man himself. He is getting help, no doubt. I'm performing an action, but I'm doing it as worship, and the matter ends there. Whether he praises me for that or whether uh, he expresses his gratitude, it doesn't matter. We don't expect. When we pray to the Lord, we don't expect any gratitude that the Lord should be grateful to us because I pray to him. He doesn't bother. It is We have to pray because it helps us. It is for our welfare that God has kindly showered His grace upon us. So you don't expect anything in return if you worship the God in man. So in that case, yes, compassion doesn't become an attachment. It is a detached way of doing karma yoga. Or if you don't believe in any God, like the Buddhists, they say, no, we don't need a personal God. Then why do you help? You just help because it is good to do good. That is what Buddha said. You just don't do because you expect something back in return. You just go on doing good. So that is why Swami Vivekananda said Buddha was a great karma yogi. He didn't bother about the fruits. He did good to anyone and everyone just because it is good to do good. It conduces to your peace of mind. You don't expect anything beyond that. That is the way to nirvana. That is what he said. That is in case you don't have a personal God. Otherwise, you can worship, try to see the God, try to see Christ in the suffering man, try to see Krishna in the suffering man or suffering person, and do it as worship. Any question? No. So we'll conclude. Yeah. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat